Insurance Studio. We go to the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. Our friend Jordan Pugh, who was very gracious in moving back a little bit. Jordan, I didn't tell you the why behind it, but I got a text that Gino Torretta, the former Heisman Trophy winner, was available to talk a little Miami, and he had a little window. So I jumped at the chance to get him, and I said to see if Jordan can move a little bit. So thank you for doing that.
Hey, man, it's all good. It's all good. That's what good teammates do. Hey, I'm not mad at that. You got to take opportunity when it's there. So, hey, do what you got to do.
Well, hey, all right, so we know it's Miami, and I do this, Jordan. Look, you're my therapist, right? I do this. I do this. I talk myself into why we'll win by 30, why we'll lose by 30, why we'll win a close. It just kind of depends who I'm talking to, how I'm talking to. So when you look at this matchup, here's what people tell me. All right, long question.
Okay.
All right, here's what people tell me. Talent for talent, they can match up with A&M. They can score. They can run. They got some beasts on the defensive side, right? They can cover. They might be one of the top 2 or 3 teams you've played all season long. Okay, that's what I hear. I also think to myself, yeah, but like in youth soccer, when you play in a certain league, you're up for that world. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a world that you're used to playing in that.
Not the soccer reference. Okay, yeah.
But like the ACC, like look, I recognize they can have all the talent in the world, but they don't know the grind. But does the grind even matter at this? This is the longest question ever. Does the grind even matter at this point?
Okay. Yeah. Yes and no. How do I want to answer this, man? That's so many parts to the question. Okay.
We're just talking.
First thing is this: Do we matchup for matchup? I think we're equal across the board as far as matchup for matchup scenario, right? They got explosive playmakers on the outside. We got the same thing. They got a good O-line. We got a good O-line. They have explosive playmakers on the defensive line. Same thing as us. So when you talk about from a matchup standpoint, I think we equal each other out from that standpoint. To me, where you look at this game and where this game is going to be played, which is common thread, is very cliche, is going to be played in the trenches, right? Whoever can win that trench battle is going to win this football game, okay? Because they can have explosive plays. They can be hit or miss. We've been hit or miss at points this year. I just think that's going to be the X factor going in. When you look at what they have on the defensive line going against our offensive line, that's going to be a hell of a matchup. They got 2 first-round guys on the defensive line, man, that can cause pressure, create chaos. How can we manage that? When you look at us from our defensive line standpoint in our front, man, we got guys that everybody knows about with Cash and Hal, all our guys that are making plays. How do we control the game? The thing that we have got to do is we cannot have a game like we did against Texas defensively, especially from the front, where we didn't have as much of an impact as we've had all season long. I think overall, I think that we are a better team because we have more weapons that we can use, right? Everybody knows about Malachi Toney. He's a big threat on their end. But I think from what we have from a weapon standpoint, we have more bullets in the chamber than they do. I think defensively, we play better as a unit than they do. Then ultimately it comes down to quarterback play. How much do you trust Carson Beck? How much do you trust Marcel Reed? It goes back to the X factor with Marcel and his legs. That's the one thing that Carson can't do is he does not have the ability to use his legs as a threat like Marcel does. And I think that opens it up for us offensively, opens up more one-on-one opportunities for our playmakers on the outside. And that can ignite us and light a fire with us offensively. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can win the game. I think Miami's game plan is going to be physical. They're going to go back. They're going to look at a few tapes, right? They're going to look at UTSA. They're going to look at Texas. They're going to see what they did on the perimeter against us in the run game. We've got to be able to shore that up. We got to be able to have the run fits. All that stuff has to be a factor, going into the game because that's what Mario Cristobal is going to want to do. Physical, punch you in the mouth, run it down your throat. So we get all those things squared away. Everything is even from that standpoint. I just think that we have too many weapons. We're too explosive, and I think that's our edge going into the game next weekend.
Jordan, I feel like I've been explaining something, and I don't know if people see it the way I see it, so I'll explain it to you. I did not expect A&M to move up from the 7th spot, okay? I wanted them to. Okay. I was like, I hope the committee, actually does some more research and, looks at some of the analytics, but I didn't expect it to. So I then think that this is, I don't know about the best possible outcome, but a good-ish outcome that you get at Miami team from the ACC. Not from a talent perspective. I recognize this team can beat you. But I'm just saying, I didn't want to take on Notre Dame again. Look, and when you're in the 7th spot, you're going to take on one of the host sites or one of the 4 top seeds, right? So then I'm like, if you're able to beat Miami, and it's still an if, but if you're at Kyle Field, even teams, you should win. That's my opinion. If you're able to win, then you're taking on Ohio State. And Ohio State is, yes, #1 team in the country for most of the year, if not the entire year until the last game. Great. I get it. But you're getting them in Texas if you're able to win. So I'm like, based on where A&M was going to be, I feel like this is not as good of a draw that was possible based on the circumstance of being 7. Agree or disagree?
Well, I never thought about it that way, but yeah, I would agree. When you're looking at, I mean, look, you're looking at essentially 2 home games. You know, you get past this first one, because I'm assuming what the site would be the Cotton Bowl, correct?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So you're looking at the Cotton Bowl. But at the end of the day, look, when you get into playoff time, you're looking for every advantage possible, right? Can we play at home? Can we get the crowd behind us? How do we handle road environments if we do that? How do we handle travel? What is the pressure of the situation? All that. You're looking for any type of factor that you can play to give yourself the advantage, right? Especially from a coaching perspective. That's how Elko is thinking right now. What are our advantages? How can we flip everything to where we maximize each and every opportunity, whether that be home field, atmosphere, weather, whatever that is. But look, at the end of the day, playoff football boils down to who's more physical than the other player and who makes one more play than the other team. That's what it boils down to. When you look at what we have from a matchup standpoint with Miami, I think Miami is very equal to us. But then when you look at the next stage, which would be an Ohio State game, I think that, man, we're on a trajectory winning each and every game where we match up well with the potential teams that we will play. Just when you look at what we have from a roster standpoint, from an ability standpoint, I think everything fits in our favor. Plus the X factors of where the games would be located, those different situations in that standpoint. So look, as a coach, man, you're always thinking about those scenarios. But as the football player, as the football guy, the guy who's competitive, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to line it up in any and every situation and win. But playoff football is about physicality. That's the one thing I learned, man, when I played in the league and we were there with the Redskins. That playoff speed and physicality is completely different. It's a different intensity level. And I think, especially with Miami being in it for the first time, we're being in it for the first time, you're going to see a different intensity level. Who can rise to that occasion? That's what I think we got to be able to focus on that standpoint. What do we do well? Focus on us. Who's the more physical team and who can do it for a longer period of time? Once we do that, everything else comes in place, falls in place, and all the X factors now benefit us moving forward.
You think the committee got it right based on the parameters that they have?
No. Look, I don't think the committee ever get it right. I don't know. I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I appreciate and I respect the game that they play, but I don't know how you put James Madison in. That's mind blowing to me. I understand that you have the group of fives and all that, but between that, Texas, I don't know why anybody's not talking about Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a 10-2 SEC team with 2 losses, one to Alabama, one to Texas. And how are they not put in? Make that make sense, right? If anybody has an argument, to me, they're the one who has the argument, right? But I think when you're putting people into a room and everything is based off opinion, you're going to get scenarios like that. I don't think there's a clear criteria as far as the 12 best, right? But with that being said, I don't care because Texas A&M is in the tournament. We got a bracket slot and we're playing up and we're lining up in Kyle Field. So now it's just about us. It's about what we do. It's about proving to everybody that we are fully capable of making a run. I think that we are the dark horse in the tournament. And I know that some people think that's a biased take, but when you look at what we do, when you look at the type of talent that we have, when you look at how we're playing as a team, the body of work that we put together, if we get things clicking on all cylinders, we can beat anybody in the country. And I think having that early round game at home, I think that's huge. Kyle Field's going to be rocking no matter what time. We can play 7 in the morning. It'll be packed out, people going crazy, right? So now if you can carry that momentum, you make big plays, you get the buzz going, you're scoring well, you got things flowing, the rhythm, and you take that into the next week, man, anything can happen from that standpoint. So I'm excited about what's going on. But, man, as far as the committee, it'll never be right, man, as long as people are making subjective opinions sitting in that room.
How have your expectations for this A&M team evolve? So, like, you have your preseason expectations, you have the 11-game win streak expectations. You know, after LSU, everybody thinks we might win the whole darn thing, right? Then you lose to Texas, and everything is kind of derailed. Where is Jordan Pugh with your expectations for this team this year?
Well, you go at the beginning of the season, I always said that it's never been a talent issue with us. It's always been who is the person that can take all the ingredients and make the best meal. Now we got that with Elko. Then as the season progresses, right, you see some things that we need to shore up, especially in the first quarter of the year. We shore that up. All of a sudden, you start seeing us win in multiple ways as well. So we went on the road against Notre Dame. We have comeback victories, tight-knit victories. Some days where the offense doesn't play well, defense plays well, vice versa. So you've seen us win. The expectation has always been the championship standard. And I think a lot of the times where you bring up that battered Aggie syndrome is guys, they're waiting on the downfall. And one of the things that I've always wanted to do each and every week is, hey, the expectation is championship. The standard is this. And I think that we have been operating on at that level. And Elko has done a good job of creating that type of atmosphere and that culture. Now, when you talk about my expectations for the team, it has not changed from, especially since that South Carolina game. Seeing how we fought back, seeing how we came back in one of the most dire situations that we've had all year, to come back and win that game, that showed me a different type of fortitude and mettle that this team has had, the resolve and the grit, right? So now, taking that into that Texas game, coming off that loss, it was disappointing because you had an opportunity, man, to do something that we've never done. But also at the same time, if you look at the silver lining in it, sometimes the loss is the best thing that happens to you because it recalibrates where you are. Sometimes when you're on a win streak, I'm not saying that this team got lackadaisical because that's not an Elko football team, but sometimes the smallest of details can go overlooked because you've experienced so much success. And now you sit back and you watch the weekend that you were supposed to be playing in and you didn't participate in that. I think that resets, that recalibrates the team. And I think we have everything that we need to make a championship run. It's on us. Everything that we do is built on us. If we do what we're supposed to do, we handle our business. There's no reason we can't hold that trophy up at the end.
That is Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Live. Jordan, we appreciate your time, man. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week to really break down the Miami matchup.
Yep, let's do it.
All right, man. There he is.